Tyler, I hate to tell you, but the world is going to end December 21st, 2012.
We don't have much time to wait.
And yeah, that's probably true. The world will end not so much from the Mayan calendar or from Britney Spears' new song about the end of the world that I just saw the other day, or from the tornadoes that are going on in Alabama at this time, or certainly from the tsunami in Japan. The world's going to end because my daughter told me so about a year ago. And you know, you're supposed to listen to your daughter. So I need to simply let you know that that's probably going to be the case. If you go in and you start looking at the Mayan research, it's actually very interesting because the Mayan calendar actually is saying that a new time will begin on December 21st, 2012. But AfterTime is actually about time ending. And as time ending, the world will come to an end. But not so much everybody, because there will be survivors. There will be people that survive after time. And the people that survive after time are going to be dominantly youth. There will be a few older folks, for those of us in the audience that are a little bit older. But I'm going to move to, I think, here we go. Baby, what do I click to? One of our survivors. Kai is a survivor. Kai has lost his parents. Kai has lost his younger sister. Kai comes out of AfterTime with, he's a little beat up. His glasses are broken, as you can see. He's growing a little stubborn. But he has no serious injuries. And Kai's into picking up stuff. And so as Kai goes through life, he's starting to pick up stuff. And as he picks up stuff, one of the things he picks up is Delia. Now this is a little strange, because Kai's a pretty sharp dude. And as he's picking up stuff that should be functional, that should allow him to move on and be effective in the world, even though he's not running into very many people. So why would he pick up Delia? And I've already given you a little bit of a clue to why he's picking up Delia. Delia reminds him of his little sister who died. And so Kai is not really knowing why he picked up Delia, but he does pick up Delia. Let's just talk a little bit more about Kai. Kai came from a very loving household. He was attached. I'm a psychologist, so I have to talk about attachment. He had good parents. He had a fairly good upbringing, etc. But he struggled in middle school. There was bullying going on in middle school. There was cyberbullying going on in middle school. There were kids in high school, etc., that got a little too heavy with drugs. Kids that got a little too heavy with obesity. He was starting to see kids that were getting cosmetic surgery at age 13 and 14. And he was getting a little disenchanted. Where actually are we going in this world? What actually are we going to be able to do and to be functional? So Kai is thinking as he's going on. Now, he's not a psychologist. He probably is more inclined to be an engineer. But he's thinking, the world's a little crazy when it was starting to end for Kai. You know, he wasn't quite understanding what was going on in the political sphere, etc. So he's looking for something a little bit different. He's seeing that Delia will grow up to be more functional. And this is kind of a picture of Delia being a little older and a little more functional. Okay, I'm going to digress a little bit and talk about health. Most of you have probably heard of Marty Seligman. If you haven't taken his signature strengths questionnaire, I would encourage you to do so. He talks about happiness. Now, happiness is not something that just magically happens. Because if we were really just talking about happiness, I could end now and say, let's just create things that make us happy. But that's probably not going to do it. We look at dimensions. Seligman actually has 26 dimensions that go into being happiness in adults. But I'm not sure these dimensions really apply to kids. Let me tell you a little bit of my background. I mean, as you know, that behaviorists believe that when we start off, we start as a blank slate. Analysts believe that we start off and we basically have to overcome some of the difficulties that we start with. It flows more from the most of you probably remember National in your psychology class, talking about healthy individuals, and they drive to go to full potential. Most of you have seen this. Now I'm going to turn back to AfterTime and talk a little bit about what's going on in our game AfterTime. Kai's physiological needs are met. The wonderful thing about the world ending is that canned goods are still left. So he can go around and you can get canned goods. You don't have to. Now that's really going to create a taste for wanting to have fresh food at some point in time. But right now there's no fresh food. That does not exist. That's simply not going on. Now safety is a little bit of an issue because at times safety is going to be, he's moving around. Shelter is sometimes difficult to find. There's really no structure that's totally safe. So we've got to work on that. And as I said, he picks up stuff. So as he's picking up stuff, he's building fairly safe structures. But now he's kind of moving into belonging needs. And he's kind of struggling with that. Now, I will say that Kai also benefited from, these are what are called social-emotional learning structures. These are structures that are supposed to be built in to our public schools at the elementary level. I understand only 5 states have adopted these, but I'm going to say in the game that Kai's got these. Somewhere along the line, he's got some self-awareness, some social awareness. He's got some self-management skills, some relationship skills, and responsible decision-making skills. Now, I've been doing my research with adolescents, and this is where the fun part of this began, as I ran into some gamers as it came along. I'm talking about what I consider to be the components of you being a healthy adolescent, of you being a healthy young adult. And these skills or dimensions are mindfulness, self-efficacy, optimism, connectedness, social competence, adaptability, initiative, emotional self-regulation, conscientiousness, and empathy. Now, I may be looking at adding gratitude to my list. I may be adding forgiveness to my list. But at the same time, I've been looking at these for a little over a decade. Just a little bit about adaptability. Certainly in end times, Kai's going to have to be adaptable. That's going to have to function. He's going to have to be adaptable. It's a prominent and resilient research. Kids that are resilient have to be adaptable. So this is just a component that has to exist for Kai in this situation. Okay, AfterTime is right now a board game. We're looking to make it into a video game, but at the same time, it is a board game. And after days of traveling, Kai and Delia finally come across the semblance of a civilization. After speaking with these people, they offer to let you into their village, help you rebuild. What are you going to do? Which one of those answers do you choose?
3.
Okay, 3 is the correct answer. Got to get a little bit more involvement here. Come on. Okay, after the harvest. Okay, now, this time passes. Remember, we're going to have different levels to the game. And time's going to pass. And remember I said, okay, they got canned goods, but that got a little old. So they decided to start planting some food. And after the harvest, the village believes they have enough food for everybody. Now that this is taken care of, what do?
One.
Okay, take the summer off would be a good option. But now that you have enough food, you can trade for other resources that the village might need and with other villages that might have those resources in greater supply. Connectedness, the importance of social support. This is also the belongingness needs that's in Maslow's research as well. So connectedness is going to be an incredible skill, very necessary for Kai's survival and after time. Let's go to the questions. Many of the children are having nightmares, seem to be scared and jumpy. Doesn't that make sense? Certainly after time that would make sense. The older members of the village are unsure what to do with them. What can they do? Very good. Okay, that was quick. A little quicker that time. Very good. I'm gonna skip over this one because I want to get to some other stuff. Emotional self-regulation. Basic level, the ability to control one's own emotions. Predictive of socially competent behavior. Got to go to the old man. Now, remember I said a couple of us guys did survive. And this is the old man that's going to be living in the village. This is the old man that's going to interact with Kai, that's going to interact with Delia, that's going to interact with the other members of the village. So he becomes an interesting character in the game. Kai finds the old man yelling at Delia for getting in his way. What will he do?
2. 2.
Okay, make sure Delia's okay. Make sure she's okay. Very good. Old man is disrupting yet another community meeting by arguing with everybody. Kai's getting angry, feels his fist ball up, his face gets red. How can Kai avoid getting into a fight?
1.
Okay, 1. Threatening the old man will most likely escalate his temper, lead to more fighting. So it's best for Kai to calm down. Empathy. I want to get through this one. Most of you know what empathy is, and so I want to kind of get through this one and show you the question, because it's a pretty good question, I think. I'm going to let you read. I guess I should read. The old man has been even more angry and combative lately. After Kai learns that he lost his entire family in the apocalypse, his opinion of the old man changes significantly. What has contributed to Kai's new opinion? You hope? Yes, no, number 1. Everybody expresses emotions differently. Empathy is a valuable personality trait. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. So that's really the definition of empathy, and that's really what Kai is getting into at this point in time. Optimism. Being optimistic. Expect good things to happen. Pessimists expect bad things to happen. Kai's an optimist. The old man's kind of a pessimist. So we automatically have that dilemma going on throughout the process. Optimists are confident that things can happen successfully, and pessimists really sit around going, when's the next end time's going to come, or when's the next bad thing going to happen, if that makes sense. Kai sees a group of kids playing, laughing in the field. What can he interpret?
Number 3.
Very good. Very good. It's really good at this point in time that children can be playful, etc., without worrying about work or nightmares. Let them enjoy their playfulness. Social competence. I'm just going to go through a couple of more, and then I'm going to try to give you a full, give you an ending. Social competence is how well youth get along with other youth. Positive peer relations, better achievement, etc., etc. Let's go to a social competence question. Looking through the remaining supplies, it's obvious that people are not respecting the plan to ration the remaining food. Kai is worried that there's no longer enough food to feed the village for the next coming weeks. What are you going to do?
Number 2.
Now we've all seen the other thing that's been utilized, right? So let's look at 2. The only long-term solution is to confront people about the situation, possibly running out of food and starvation. Now, AfterTime is structured to be what is called a social participation game. Now, most social participation games are about saving the planet. And so this game is not about saving the planet, it's about creating a new and a better world. Now, it very much starts by tapping into Maslow's survival needs. And I'm going to also give some credit to James McConaughey, who we'll see this afternoon on tape, talking about building intrinsic reward. Satisfying work, the experience of hope or being successful, promotes social connection, and also promotes meaning. Now, this is not what Kai wants to see Delia growing up to be. Does that make sense? If the world does not change, if the world does not become more successful, Delia's youth is going to end up being pretty impoverished. So this is not what Kai wants to see. Kai envisions a better world. He envisions a world where the power of love overcomes the love of power. Now, Kai has created his own MacArthur plan, so I'm going to give you a little explanation of that, because following World War II, General MacArthur served as the governor of Japan for actually 5 years. He totally got rid of their militaristic influence, and he set up a democracy. And he got rid of the way that they perceived and used power. So I'm going to end my presentation by basically asking you, what will be your strategy? I'm looking at a strategy to create a better world, but certainly we need to look at strategies to address depression. We need to look at strategies to address abuse, obesity. I'm encouraging you all to create games that matter. I mean, games are fun, but games can also be incredibly educational for all of us as we move forward. Looking at problems, looking at solutions, I think this is where we need to go. So I'm going to end by saying, is AfterTime really a game? Is it time that we actually do take a look at an alternative reality, an alternative creation of a new world? This is my address up there if you ever want to contact me, and I'll appreciate it. And I'll leave you with a picture of Delia as a little functional child, still picking up buckets for other kids. Thank you very much.